Welcome to the Remedify coaching program. Today, we're diving deep into something pretty amazing. Um, these ancient writings, the New Testament letters, also called epistles.
Yeah,
You've probably come across these before, maybe at church or just reading on your own. But have you ever thought of them as like the original life coaching guides?
that's a great way to put it.
That's exactly what we're looking at today. We're going to explore these letters and uncover the super practical wisdom they have for us, for you, for your life. And we're using this great resource called How to Study the New Testament Letters.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource. And we've got a ton of info here. It's not just about what these letters say, but how they were written, so intentionally crafted. And the big question, why do they still matter so much to us today? We'll be unpacking their unique format, the fact that they were written for specific situations, what we call their occasional nature, and this really cool idea of task theology. It's basically faith in action. Plus, we'll look at the cultural background, the world these letters came from, because that shapes so much of their message. So think of this as your guide to unlocking the wisdom in these ancient writings.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's start with the structure. So think about it. You know how a modern letter or even an email has like a certain pattern?
Right?
Well, these epistles are no different. They follow a format. And our resource breaks down the typical components. So first, you have the author, usually one of the major figures in early Christianity. They're often called an apostle. They were like the foundational leaders.
Right.
Then you have the recipient. Could be whole communities of early Christians, or even just one person.
Right.
And then usually a greeting, like we'd say hello today, but theirs are often filled with these powerful words like grace and peace. And it doesn't stop there. Many of them include a prayer or like an expression of thankfulness right at the beginning.
Yeah, and what's so cool is realizing that these early writers, they were just using the regular way of communicating back then. So understanding the format helps us see that these messages, they were structured on purpose. There was real intentionality behind them, to be clear, to have impact. It wasn't just random thoughts thrown together. There was this flow designed to connect with the reader, to guide them. It's like a carefully crafted speech where each part built upon the last to deliver this really powerful message.
Absolutely. And that brings us to something really important, what they call occasional nature of these letters.
Right.
Now, that might sound a bit academic, but it's really pretty simple.
It is.
These weren't just like abstract essays written in a vacuum. Instead, our resource really emphasizes this. They were written because of specific situations, real challenges, questions, conflicts that these early Christian communities were dealing with.
Exactly, yeah.
So think of them like targeted advice columns responding to the needs of the moment.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Imagine listening in on like one side of a really important phone call. That's often what it's like when we're reading these letters. We're getting one part of a large conversation. And the resource points out, to really understand the original message, we have to look for clues in the text itself. What issues are being addressed? What kind of community are they writing to? What were the hot topics of the day? Considering this historical context, that's key for us as modern readers, to grasp what was going on and to really get the full impact of what's being communicated. It's like we're stepping back in time to understand the problem being solved.
Yeah, and it's like you're putting yourself in their shoes. Okay, so now we come to this really fascinating concept that the resource introduces, and it's called task theology. Don't let that term scare you.
Yeah.
It's a really practical idea. These letters, while filled with profound truths about God and faith, weren't meant to be like comprehensive theological textbooks.
Right. They weren't trying to cover every single point of doctrine, in great detail. What makes these letters so valuable is they show us theology in action. They illustrate how those core beliefs, the things they really held dear, how those were applied to everyday life, to the specific challenges that those early Christians faced. It's like we're getting a front row seat to see faith lives out in the real world. It's not just about what they believed. It's about how those beliefs actually shaped how they acted and how they interacted with each other.
And that's where I think the connection to our lives today really comes in, right?
Absolutely.
Because we can take these examples of applied faith
Yeah.
and we can ask ourselves, how might these same principles be relevant to the tasks, the situations I'm facing in my life today?
Yeah.
It's about taking those timeless truths and seeing how they inform our own actions and decisions. It's like we've found this operating manual for a fulfilling life, written in a different context, but still incredibly applicable.
Definitely. To truly appreciate the impact of these letters, we need to step back into the first century AD. We need to understand the cultural landscape. And the resource highlights this really well, the huge influence of the Roman Empire. This was a society with a very clear social hierarchy. Your status, it really determined a lot of your life back then.
Yeah, you're right. It was a world where things like social standing and power were so important. And yet, within this context, the teachings in these letters often presented something so different, what our resource calls a countercultural message.
It was radical.
Yeah, it was. This radical emphasis on equality among all believers, a powerful call to love one another regardless of your social standing, and this foundational principle of unity in Christ that went beyond all those earthly distinctions.
Yeah, this clash of values is so important to understanding why these writings were revolutionary and why they resonated with people from all walks of life in the Roman Empire. And even thinking about, the geographical locations of the churches, the personal relationship between the author, like Paul, and the people he's writing to, all these things give the message of the epistles even richer meaning and make them even more powerful for us today.
Absolutely. So with all of this in mind, how do we approach studying these letters today? Well, our resource offers this practical step-by-step approach. And the first step might surprise you with its simplicity. Just read the entire letter in one sitting.
Yeah, that's such good advice. Think about it. You wouldn't try to understand a novel by just reading random paragraphs here and there. Reading the whole letter gives you a sense of the big picture, the main themes the author is dealing with, and the overall flow of their argument. Sometimes trying a different translation can be really helpful. Sometimes just seeing the same message phrased a little differently can open up a whole new level of understanding.
That's a good point. Once you've got that overview, that big picture, the next step, as our resource highlights, is to really pay attention to the details. Notice the author's tone. Are they encouraging? Are they being a little firm? Maybe a mix of both. Who are they writing to exactly? Are there specific problems or situations that are mentioned outright? And how is the letter structured? Are there clear sections? Are there recurring themes? These little observations, they can give us really important clues to understanding.
Absolutely. And then building on that close reading, the resource emphasizes how important it is to trace the author's line of reasoning. These letters aren't just a collection of random thoughts. They present a carefully constructed argument. The author is building their case point by point. By identifying the main ideas and seeing how they connect to each other, how they support each other, we can understand the author's overall message and their intent so much better. It's like following the steps in a logical proof. Each part contributes to that final conclusion.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to put it. Now, let's be real for a second. Sometimes you're going to come across passages or references in these letters that you just don't understand.
That's going to happen. It's normal.
Right. It's perfectly normal. And that's where the resource offers some really practical advice. Don't be afraid to look for some help, to seek out reliable resources for clarification. Things like commentaries written by respected biblical scholars or other well-researched materials. These can offer really valuable insights into the historical context, the nuances of the original language, the cultural background. All these things can really illuminate the text for us.
They really can. And ultimately, the resource points this out. The goal of studying these letters isn't just to gain knowledge. It's to let that wisdom shape our lives. So once we've made the effort to understand the original meaning within its historical context, the next crucial step is to reflect on those underlying principles, those timeless truths that extend beyond the specific situations being addressed, the things that still speak to believers across the centuries, including us today.
Exactly. And the resource illustrates this so well by highlighting the variety we find within the New Testament letters themselves. There are the letters attributed to Paul, and then there's this collection known as the General Epistles. And each one offers these unique perspectives, addressing different facets of faith and life. While we can't go into each one individually today, it's so encouraging to know that this incredibly rich collection of ancient wisdom is out there, available for your own personal study and discovery.
It really is. And for even more resources, to support you in your exploration and deepen your understanding of these incredible letters, we highly recommend Tyrannus Hall Bible College.
Yes.
THBC. Their YouTube channel is https://www.youtube.com at Tyrannus Hall Bible College, https://www.youtube.com at Tyrannus Hall Bible College. They have a wealth of material that can really enrich your journey into the New Testament.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on the New Testament letters, I hope you'll see them in a new light.
Yeah.
There's so much more than just old religious texts. As our resource puts it, they're snapshots of real-life mentoring, addressing specific challenges with wisdom that's both ancient and incredibly relevant for today. And it's all rooted in these fundamental and really uplifting theological truths.
And what's really powerful is that the fact they were written to specific people in specific situations in that particular cultural moment actually makes their messages even more impactful and relatable for us when we take the time to understand them.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds us that faith isn't some abstract thing. It's meant to be lived out in the midst of our everyday lives, with all the messiness and all the joy that comes with it.
It is, isn't it? So think back to this idea of task theology. What are the big tasks in your life right now? The challenges you're facing, the decisions you need to make, the relationships you're navigating. How might the principles found in these letters, like love, forgiveness, perseverance, hope, how might those offer you guidance and strength for the situations you're in today?
And remember the countercultural aspects we talked about.
Yeah.
That radical message of equality, love, and unity. It stood in such stark contrast to the norms of the Roman Empire. Are there ways that those same principles can challenge us today? Can they inspire us to live in ways that reflect those values more fully?
Absolutely. And I really encourage you, take those first steps that we've talked about, inspired by a resource, pick one of the New Testament letters, read the whole thing through, take some time to notice the details, try to follow the author's train of thought.
Mm-hmm.
You might be surprised by the new perspectives and the really applicable insights you discover. This deep dive, this has just been a little taste. There's so much wisdom waiting for you in these letters.
There really is. And for more exploration and great resources to support your learning, definitely check out Tyrannus Hall Bible College. Their YouTube channel is https://www.youtube.com at Tyrannus Hall Bible College. https://Tyrannus Hall Bible College.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Remedify Coaching Program.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.